Good morning. Let us continue with our vocabulary terms. Today we're going to begin Chapter 5 of the Jarrett book, titled, as you can see there in front of you, Industrialization in the Gilded Age. And this will be the vocabularies that we are working on, the vocabulary terms. I believe there's about 11 or 12 slides that we'll be looking at over the course of probably the next couple of days or so. And so we're going to probably go about 20 or so minutes per video, and let's get started. What we have in front of us is our first slide of vocabulary terms, and let us take a look at our very first term, the Second Industrial Revolution. And as you can see right there, Second Industrial Revolution. The decades after the Civil War, and of course the Civil War ended in 1865. Sorry about that. My handwriting is horrible. You know that. Anyway, so in the decades after the Civil War ended, which was 1865 to really around 1900 is the period of time we're talking about, we had great industrial progress. Great industrial progress was made. What that means is that we, as a nation, began to grow. Industrially speaking, which means we began to build more factories, we began to hire and employ more people in industrial type jobs, manufacturing jobs, factory jobs. And one of the most important reasons for this growth in industry was, hold on a second, I'm adjusting my color here. I think we got it. There we go. The Bessemer process. And I know I mentioned this to you previously, but the Bessemer process was, as the definition tells you, a new and more efficient and economical method of producing steel. Now, these are all extremely important. It was more efficient and more economical. And so we were able to mass produce steel thanks to the Bessemer process, which was brought over by Americans from England, the process by which you do this. And again, I cannot explain to you. I think I mentioned this to you when we first mentioned it. I can't tell you exactly what happens. I am not in that line of work. I have no idea what goes into it. Sorry. You may want to ask your science teacher. They may know, or you can look it up. I do have a few videos that go into it. Whether or not we'll have time to look at those so the process can be explained to us, I don't know. But whether they heated it to the molten steel to a certain temperature, whether they cooled it a certain way, whether they used a certain amount of water mixed with some other some chemical, I have no idea exactly what the process was. But the process, the Bessemer process, allowed us to mass produce steel that was as strong as any other, but it was produced more cheaply, more quickly, which then made it more readily available to the masses. Our third one, Alexander Graham Bell, of course, he's the inventor of the telephone, and here is his life. Born in 1847, died in 1922. Alexander Graham Bell, of course, is the man who invented the telephone. The device that you either have in your pocket or your purse or your bag illegally at this moment, if it's not in the front of the room where it should be. What you have today is the great grandson of his phone. And of course, his phone just allows you to speak to someone else, which of course is miraculous enough to begin with. Think about it for a moment. The telephone allows us to speak to someone who's not in the room, who could be across campus, who could be in another town, another state, another country, another continent. So the ability to communicate with people, the telephone, gives us the ability to communicate with two people instantaneously. That allowed us as Americans and people of the planet, but us as Americans to grow, to move from home and still keep in touch with our loved ones. It allowed us to conduct business more quickly, more efficiently. Prior to the telephone, the most efficient form of communication was the telegraph. And of course, the telegraph is a series of wires that were strung up, much like the power lines we have today. And a series of electronic impulses were sent down that wire and using what was called code, Morse code. Anyway, I could send a message, and it would get to the person to whom it was addressed relatively quickly, and then they would send a message back. And again, it was relatively efficient as long as the line wasn't too busy or the line was not damaged, which it did happen occasionally. So the telephone, once the lines were put up, provided instantaneous communication pretty much anywhere here in the country, and then of course eventually overseas. So if something happens, my wife and I have a baby, I can call back home. I'm originally from Chicago, now I'm in California. I can call, and within moments of the event, they can know. Now, of course, today, you can film the birth, you can take pictures and put them on Facebook or any of the other social media outlets, but the point is, what we have today is a direct, hold on. Good morning, students and staff. It is a beautiful... Sorry about that. I am making this this video before school, and I often get interrupted like that. Okay, let's go on to our next one. Thomas Edison. Sorry about that. There we go. Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors in history. I would argue that he was the greatest inventor. He and his shop, he put together a group of young inventors in his shop. Is credited, I believe, with well over 1,000 patents of inventions. And, of course, he is probably best known for creating the electric light bulb. And, of course, all you have to do is look up. Of course, the lights are off right now. But, again, you have to do is look up and see his invention. Whenever you walk in the room, you hit the light switch. Electricity flows. The lights are on. And that is due to his invention. All right, let's move forward. The Transcontinental Railroad, just take a look at the name, trans, across the continent railroad. This was a single railroad line that connected east and west, and it was finished in 1869. The two halves met at Promontory Point in Utah in 1869. So the Transcontinental Railroad, which was completed in Utah, Promontory Point in Utah, took the eastward bound track and the westward bound track. They met together, and you have, for the first time ever, one single railroad that connects east and west. So I could get on a train in Chicago and wind up in Los Angeles. Now, it may take me a week or two, depending on all kinds of different factors, but I could get cross-country very quickly for that period of time. Our third one on this page, Sears and Roebuck. Mr. Sears was mentioned in one of the videos I showed you, the John Green video I showed you. John Green mentioned Mr. Sears, who worked for the railroads, who came up with the idea of selling watches. And so he bought $50 worth of watches. And next thing you know, he has a store that he is selling goods all over the country from. He eventually teams up with a man named Roebuck. Anyway, this is one of several department stores that opened during this period of time. It offered a hard copy catalog that a person could purchase from and have those purchases delivered from the store. So you're in Utah and you get a catalog and you want to buy a bathtub. You want to buy a refrigerator. No, not a refrigerator at that time, sorry. You want to buy a plow. You send it in, and within a few weeks, it would be delivered to the town and then delivered to you. And Sears and Roebuck is one of the first of these department stores to do that. And, of course, today, we do this all the time. We go online, e-shopping, whether it be something like eBay or Amazon. It doesn't really matter where you go, but it's the same concept. The difference was, instead of purchasing something online, you would purchase from a catalog. You send your money in, they'd get the order, they'd process it, ship it out, and it would be delivered to you. Our next one, corporation, is a company that is chartered by a state and recognized in law as a separate person. So a corporation is really sort of like a person, an individual. The corporation could sell shares of itself to the general public. Now, okay, what is a share? Okay, a share, also called a stock. A person could buy a share of a corporation and own essentially a small piece of the company. So today, you can go online, you can call a broker and say, I want to buy shares in AT&T, I want to buy shares in McDonald's, or whatever company you want to buy shares in that is incorporated. And so you tell your broker I have $5,000, and they buy $5,000 of shares in Microsoft. So you own $5,000 worth of stock, which means you own a small piece of Microsoft. Now, I don't know what each share of stock goes for at Microsoft today. Let's just say for fun, $50. So $5,000 isn't going to buy a lot of shares, compared to what Bill Gates owns, of course. But you own several hundred shares of stock in Microsoft, which means you own a small piece of it. And when the company makes money, the value of your stock goes up, you sell it, and you make a profit. If the value of your stock goes down, you lose money. So to create a corporation, allowed people to buy shares in a company. And if the company profited, so did the shareholder. Not only that, but the corporation was able to raise money by selling shares, which they could then use to grow, to increase their product line, to give raises, bonuses, whatever the case may be. Hold on. Okay, let me finish this up. I have to go to a meeting, as we heard a few moments ago. As I also mentioned a moment ago, shareholder, this is a person who owns a stock in a company. Again, it can be any company that's incorporated, Microsoft, McDonald's, AT&T, Ford, whatever it may be. You own a small piece of that company. Our last one on this page, the last one we'll do for this particular video, the free enterprise systems. Free enterprise system. Individuals like you and I are free, this is the key part, are free to produce, buy, and sell whatever we wish. This is key. We are free to produce, to buy, to sell whatever we wish. The market, you and I, the producers and the consumers, we determine what is made, how much of it is made, and how much it is sold for. It is that simple. That's the free enterprise system. That is capitalism. That's a system we have used in this country for a long time. It has proven to be very effective, and of course it has produced the greatest economy the world has ever seen here in America. Okay, we're going to have to stop at this point. I have to go to a meeting. We'll pick it up later on.